There is a lot going on this full moon in Taurus on November 5th. It is exact at 8:18 a.m. Eastern Time. As usual for the full moon, the sun is opposite the moon on the chart. So today we're talking about the Scorpio and Taurus axis. This is about transformation versus comfort, risk versus security, intensity versus simplicity. And you may find yourself at the crossroads between the two. Because remember, on the chart, we're here. Earth is here. We're in the middle. And that's not the only challenging transit going on this chart. But before we get into that, I'm Sammy. I'm at Infinity Aura Ave, where I check in with you twice a month to see what's going on in the astrology so I can help you work with it instead of against it. If you're catching this on Instagram, make sure you check in with me on TikTok or YouTube so you get the full video. Let's get into it. So like I said earlier, the focus here, right? We look at the sun for the focus of where our energy is because the sun is shining its light on this area of our chart. The focus is about what we need to change, what risk you should take, and how deep you're willing to go, versus where your comfort zone is and how you need to let go of that a little bit and step out of it. On top of that, you've got Venus in Libra, which is usually very pleasant. And I've told you guys before, I don't keep Chiron on the chart. I might have to get a little Chiron because I've been talking about Chiron a lot lately. But Chiron is opposite Venus right here in Aries. And this can manifest as a battle between standing up for yourself and people pleasing or keeping the peace by avoiding what you really want to say. Venus and Chiron are both square Jupiter in Cancer. So this makes the feelings surrounding this very big. There's a very big battle between your boundaries and how you enforce them. The best way to do that is to figure out how to stand up for yourself, but in a balanced way, because Venus is really here to support that energy. So you really do kind of want to be diplomatic. That's where the energy is. So it's really about standing up for yourself, but in a balanced way, because Venus can also lean into the opposite. Venus is a victim of the people pleasing in Libra, and that's exactly what we're looking to avoid. So you have to use the positive aspect in Venus to kind of get through this Chiron aspect. You've also got Mars just entering Sagittarius, which is a more laid back approach to getting things done as opposed to when he was in Scorpio, right? Mars in Scorpio is very intense energy as far as what he wants to accomplish. But laid back does not mean unproductive because Mars is pretty comfortable here when he's in the fire signs. He's just not as intense as when he was in Scorpio. The way Mars accesses motivation and how he's going to get things done in Sagittarius is a little bit more playful. He's having fun with it now. Whereas in Scorpio, he was really diving deep into what he needed to do. And it was very, very serious. Mercury is also in Sagittarius, but he's in detriment here and he's about to go retrograde. Communication is disorganized and very blunt and bold here. And I don't mean that to be like people with Mercury in Sagittarius have disorganized communication. I'm a Mercury in Sagittarius, okay? Sometimes it's just hard to put words in the order that you want to put them in. That's why when I do these videos, sometimes you see me looking over here because I have to have notes because the thoughts are all over my head all the time. And like I have to put them down in the right way so that when I talk to you guys, they make sense and I'm not on 50 different tangents with this. Otherwise, these videos would be like 35 minutes long. So that's what the energy of Mercury and Sagittarius is like. Like we'll get there. We'll get to the point eventually. So it's not like it's not functioning. It's just functioning differently. And you might have to take a trip to get the communication right. But Mercury is also going to go retrograde here. So because he goes retrograde so soon, he's going retrograde on the 9th, he's slowing down to go backwards through the chart, right? He goes this way when he goes retrograde. So he's slowing down. You can't just, they're going through the chart this way, right? When a planet is going to go retrograde, it's not just going to stop and go this way. Like it doesn't happen overnight. The planet will slow down its movement, stop, and then go the other way. That's how a retrograde works. In a couple of seconds, the camera that's recording my table is about to stop recording while I'm talking about Mercury retrograde. That is the most Mercury retrograde thing to ever happen to me on camera. So we're going to have to do the rest of this video without the table, unfortunately. And I do use it because I don't know at the time that it stopped recording. So just bear with me. So in that energy, when the planet is slowing down and stopping, you might feel like there's no communication getting done. And then when he goes retrograde, the communication is not going to, these are not going to be brand new topics that are easy to get done. You're going to see some repeats of the last couple weeks going back over things, kind of ironing out some misunderstandings. And he will pick up through the chart, go back into Scorpio, and then the same thing will happen. Okay. We'll get to the Kazemi or whatever. I just want to explain to you how Mercury actually moves. So when he gets into Scorpio, after a couple weeks, he will also slow down. The communication will really slow down. And then it goes back the other way through the chart again. With Mars and Mercury both in Sagittarius, opposite Uranus, be prepared for you or somebody else to do or say things that maybe you just didn't see coming. The best way for you to work with this moon is going to be aware that, as always, that this other energy is surrounding it, but we're here to get down to business on what the moon is asking of us. Really ask yourself, how is your comfort zone holding you back? And how do you focus on what is important to change? Try to stand in your boundaries in a diplomatic way, but not so diplomatic that you choose people pleasing as to keep the peace. As for the upcoming Mercury retrograde, my best Mercury retrograde advice is that you always consider all options before making any choices. And if possible, hold off on concrete decisions, especially concerning travel, electronics, and contracts, because Mercury rules all of those, until Mercury goes direct at the end of November. Now, before I talked about the peak of the retrograde, or maybe I just called it the Kazemi, but the peak of the retrograde is really when Mercury and the Sun meet during a retrograde. That's really the peak, and that's kind of when you'll have like some real clarity on what this Mercury retrograde was really trying to tell you. So that Mercury Kazemi is on November 20th. I'll put the exact dates right here. We're going to have the day Mercury goes retrograde. Actually, let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning of the pre-shadow. So these are the dates that you should be looking at for Mercury retrograde. You've got the pre-shadow. So the degree that Mercury is going to retrograde back to starts here. Then Mercury goes direct into Sagittarius. This is where it will go retrograde. Here's the date right here. Mercury will go back and it will hit the Kazemi. Then Mercury will come back after the retrograde past the point where it went retrograde. And that date is right here. And that is the end. That's when you'll see a lot of this. We're out of this Mercury retrograde energy for sure. I will see you guys before that, because right before Mercury goes direct, on the same day, actually, we have a new moon in Scorpio. So on November 20th, Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Venus will all be in Scorpio. And that's when we'll have our next moon meeting. That is very, very deep and intense energy, but we'll talk about that next time. Focus on the full moon ahead of you. As far as Infinity Aura Avenue, I have some merch coming out. This is actually, this is actually one of the sweaters that I'm going to put out in a couple different colors. I have some beanies coming out. If you follow me on Instagram, I do post a lot of that stuff. I think some of it's up on TikTok, perhaps. If you're watching this on YouTube, follow me somewhere else, because this is a lot of what you guys are getting on YouTube, but I do have more of the energy series coming. If you haven't watched my energy series video, there's just one video out right now, but it's how to cleanse your energy. It is up there. Go check it out. I'm Sammy. This is Infinity Aura Ave, and I will see you in a couple weeks for our next moon meeting. Bye.